name is Sarah Reef, and I am the chair of CLA's Health and Wellness Committee. Very excited today to welcome back our speakers and presenters. Gary Laturno will be speaking today and discussing heart disease reversal programs and some of the causes of heart disease, myths and misperceptions. He is a member and vice chair of the Health and Wellness Committee, current president of the La Jolla Bar Association. He's past chair of the Real Property Law section of CLA, and he's currently writing a book called The Heart Healthy Lawyer, Preventing and Reversing America's Top Killer. We also have Tracy Childs back with us today. Tracy is a super passionate healthy food advocate who fully embraced a plant-based lifestyle after first becoming vegetarian as a teen and then vegan as a young adult. She is co-founder, chef, and director of Tracy's Real Foods. She's a certified nutritional consultant and holds a certificate in plant-based nutrition from Cornell. She is also the founder and director of Plant Diego, a San Diego-based nonprofit Plant Pure Pod inspired by the movie Plant Pure Nation to educate and support people in living a healthy, whole food, plant-based lifestyle. Tracy's going to cook for us today. So we're going to start with Gary, who's going to inform us of heart disease reversal programs. So take it away, Gary.
First, Lauren is going to do the trailer for a powerful film called Code Blue. So there we go.
We spent $3 trillion last year on what we call healthcare, which is predominantly sick care, 86% of which was for treating chronic diseases that can be largely often prevented or even reversed by making lifestyle changes.
Life literally changed overnight for me. I was no longer a young, healthy physician. I was now an MS patient, and I myself was admitted to the hospital.
Number one cause of death in the United States and the number one cause of disability in the United States is our diet.
Let's serve food on one floor of the hospital that causes the coronary disease and then the treatment on another floor of the same building. And, you know, we're basically profiting from both causing disease and treating disease.
This may be the first generation in which our kids may live a shorter lifespan than their parents.
Let's be honest, a number of medical schools are run by Pharmageddon.
We need to get to the root cause where lifestyle is used as that therapeutic intervention to prevent, treat, and even reverse so much of our chronic disease.
Heart disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes, dementia, respiratory disease. 80% of that chronic disease burden we see in the world around us doesn't need to exist.
Throughout 4 years of medical school, 4 years of residency, and then another 2 years of subspecialty training, none of my mentors or educators had ever commented on a connection between diet and disease. This was new to me, and I was struck by it.
There is a severe nutrition deficiency in education.
This is so common sense, and why aren't the large schools, the Ivy League schools, why are they not looking at this in terms of training a good physician?
Now, going to medical school means that you're going to learn about diet, about exercise, how to do it for yourself, and how to help your patients change.
Doctors who say, I don't want to be a pill factory anymore. I don't want to just be an assembly line of prescriptions. I want to change people's lives.
So the logical question you might have for me is, how does an infectious disease specialist evolve into a lifestyle medicine physician?
Medicine is at the cusp of what is truly a seismic revolution in health.
I invited you all here today because I wanted to show you what medicine can be and how all of us working together, we can change not only healthcare, but the future of our country.
Well, that was a powerful 2 minutes that I think very effectively and accurately describes the health and the status of the so-called healthcare system in the United States. Lauren's going to actually put on a PDF of or a PowerPoint that, there you go, thanks very much. Okay, guys, welcome and thanks very, very much for being here. We have, I think, a powerful presentation. First part, I'm going to talk about some of these things. I won't cover everything, in these slides. And then Tracy, who is one of the best top plant-based chefs in America, will demonstrate some incredible skills. Slide number 2, can I move these around or can you, there we go. Okay, heart disease. It is the number 1 killer in the United States. The bad news really is heart disease begins when children, and it starts to kill us off. It was in the 40s. In fact, my mother and her father died in their 40s from heart disease. And actually it's now coming down into the 30s, and basically every minute a person dies from heart disease in America. You saw Caldwell Esselstyn from the Cleveland Clinic, who's been someone I followed for the last 10 years. And he has a very positive message. It really isn't a big deal. If it exists, it can be easily reversed, really, with simple lifestyle changes. And you might look at his TED Talk, Making Heart Attacks History. Another really good video is Dr. Krieger and nutritionfacts.org, how not to die from heart disease. Next slide, please. Okay, heart disease reversal. Our body has an amazing ability to heal if we let it. And my story, kind of my journey of conquering heart disease, osteoarthritis, and weight challenges with lifestyle changes, not drugs, surgery, or counting calories. Next slide. So I've always enjoyed the poetry of Robert Frost, and these images and these words kind of always kind of bounce around in my head. And I just love these few words, 2 words, diverge in a wood. I took the one less traveled, and that has made all the difference. And I couldn't agree more with Mr. Frost. Next slide, please. So I actually got into health trouble probably 10, 12 years ago. I had retired from the FBI about maybe 20 years before, and I went into private law practice. And I really started to change my lifestyle. I was entertaining more, and I was thinking, hey, everything in moderation works. And what happened, I had gained about 40 pounds. And I had some really significant chest pains. I was really becoming very concerned. And while my wife and I were walking around a golf course one day, my left knee swelled up. I mean, I was in incredible pains. The next day, I went to Kaiser Permanente in San Diego. They did an x-ray. An orthopedic surgeon told me I needed a new knee. And I said, well, what would happen if I didn't get a new knee? And he said, you have to take pain pills all your life. You really need a new knee. My regular doctor told me I needed to start taking pills for high blood pressure, for total blood cholesterol. And I decided to go off and look at, what was new out there in healthcare. And I actually read and digested the China study by Dr. Campbell from Cornell and Dr. Esselstyn's book, Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease. And you've heard him. He's now 88 years old. He started the heart disease reversal program at the Cleveland Clinic. So what I've done in the last 12 years is I've lost 40 pounds, and the weight just melted away. And I really found it easy to keep it off and be slender. And had always struggled with my weight over the years. I really didn't know what to do. So, I mean, you really have to know what to do and why. It really is easy to become slender and healthy. And it's not rocket science. My BMI went from 25 to 21. I really love what I eat. I did not have I did not, in the past, I never really liked or loved, certainly didn't love the food I ate. It just didn't like, I didn't like what it did to me. My total blood cholesterol has fallen from 200 to 110. My blood pressure dropped from 155 to below 110. And I'm very, very active physically. I can walk indefinitely, no pain, no swelling, no discomfort. And I never had any surgery. I don't take any pain pills. Next slide, please. Okay, steps to success. First of all, I found you really have to take responsibility for your health. You can't allow somebody else to decide what's in your best interest. I mean, most people just go to the doctor, what do I need? Give me something. And the doctor is trained to either to treat the symptoms of your disease by giving you pills or doing surgery. Another thing is that you've got to assume some competence. You have to understand, number one, how the healthcare system functions. It's not there really to make you healthy, it's to treat the symptoms of a disease. So you're a patient really for the rest of your life. And there's really, it's not that hard to do if you read the China study by Dr. Campbell and Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease by Dr. Esselstyn. You will have a huge positive grasp on this. Another thing that I found was very helpful. I joined a Facebook group, support group of Dr. Esselstyn's patients. And they're very unique because first they attend a 6-hour class with Dr. Esselstyn and then meet with him privately once a month. So they're a very unique group. I've talked to people who've had open heart surgery and they had none of that. They didn't really meet that much with the doctor. The doctor said, you need this. Next slide, please. Okay, here's an MD who became one of Esselstyn's patients. He is one of a unique group. He's a doctor, orthopedic surgeon from Oklahoma City. He was a running back at the University of Oklahoma when he was in college, and his name is Jimmy Conway. And I was reading an article that was written by him that appears in a book that's identified down below. And, he explained that all the men in his family had died of heart disease. And his question when he was 53 years old was, am I next? And he points out he had no education on nutrition in medical school. And at best, he said, I could prolong the inevitable by eating right. But I think we can all identify with this. He had no idea what eating right meant. And he points out he thought eating lean meat was healthy when in reality, the cholesterol's in the lean portion of the meat. Next slide, please. So at 53, he had blockages in his coronary arteries. His total blood cholesterol was above 400, and he was told that he needed bypass surgery. So before the surgery, somebody in his office, one of the doctors said, we should read the China study by Dr. Campbell at Cornell. And he read that. Then he read Dr. Esselstyn's book, which I have read and discuss here. And then he actually called Dr. Esselstyn and consulted with him for several hours. So he was especially unique among a group of unique patients. He didn't go to a class. So after he had done this, he canceled the surgery and followed Dr. Esselstyn's recommendations with the same things that I did when I was faced with these challenges. And his total blood cholesterol within months fell from 400 to 115. In fact, what he did specifically is on the next slide. And he is now retired from medical practice, is teaching a plant-based nutrition class in Oklahoma City. And he says for the first time, he's practicing healthcare. Actually called his office, talked to someone in his office, and said I was interested in what had happened to him. And the very next day, the phone rings. It's Dr. Conway. And I spent a lot of time speaking with him. And one of the things he said that I thought was especially significant and important, what he says, as an orthopedic surgeon, he sees blockages in the arteries of his patients. And he said they would be better served, as he was, by changing the food they eat, which is low fat, whole food, high fiber, and allow their bodies to heal. Next slide, please. So this is what Dr. Conway and I did. This is something that's very unique. I'm not aware of any heart reversal program that does this, but I can't, I'm not really intimately familiar with every one. But anyway, the power is in greens, the most nutrient-dense food on the planet. And you chew a fist size after cooking from 4 to 6 minutes, serving of high nitrate greens with a few drops of balsamic vinegar. By the way, this is a really big deal. Balsamic vinegar Grand Reserve is a very concentrated, it is, I think, 35 calories per tablespoon, as opposed to regular balsamic vinegar, which is 10. And you only need a few drops of this on the fist size of greens, and it's just absolutely delicious. And you do that, it's like getting a booster 6 times a day, morning through day until you go to bed, 6 times a day. And I did that religiously for probably about a year. I backed off, I'm not doing it now. And I couldn't believe how my health changed. High nitrate greens promote nitric oxide, which is a potent vasodilator that allows the blood vessels to dilate to their fullest. So you're doing this, these are his favorite greens. Let me go on to the next one. Next slide, please. Okay, here's 3 heart reverse disease programs. Number one, I mentioned Nathan Pritikin. He's now deceased, but he did this back in the 70s and 80s. He was told by his physicians he had a heart attack. He's a fairly young man, and he was told there was really not much they could do for him. All 3 of the reversal programs, Pritikin, Ornish, and Dr. Esselstyn. Let's go on to the next slide. All of them embrace a low-fat, high-fiber, plant-based starch diet. And you should take a few minutes and read through these things. For example, Dr. Campbell says the science is very clear that the healthiest diet you can consume is a diet high in starch and fiber. John McDougall, who's here in California, but Santa Rosa, the medical director from his hospital or healthcare center talked to us last year, says the longest lived and healthiest people on the planet consume diets based on locally grown starches and live to the age of 100 at rates 10 times higher than the average American. Now, Dr. McDougall actually grew up in Michigan, had a stroke when he was in his late teens, then went to medical school searching for an answer how this happened. He went through medical school and never found the answer until he was out and he got his first job as a physician, which was to serve 5,000 workers at a sugar plantation in Hawaii. And he immediately found out what the answer was. These were people who came from rural Asia and they ate a high fiber, starch-based plant diet. And the light went on. Another doctor that is incredible, who's made huge contributions, Neil Barnard from the Barnard Medical Center. And one of his books that I absolutely love, Power Foods for the Brain, he points out, and interestingly, he grew up on a cattle ranch in North Dakota. His father was a medical doctor, and he has figured out that the healthiest, slimmest, long-lived people on earth, and those who keep their mental faculties lifelong, are those who include plenty of carbohydrate-rich grains, beans, noodles, and starchy vegetables. His father, by the way, a physician, died of Alzheimer's disease. Next slide, please. Okay, here's Dr. Esselstyn's specific recommendations on what to eat. Fiber and starches in addition to the greens. And you eat as much as you want. By the way, it amazes me how many people try to diet and they're unsuccessful. It's really not that hard. If you're eating a low-fat, whole foods, plant-based diet, you can eat as much as you want. You don't have to count calories. These are the things. Whole grains. My favorite among this group are oats and barley. Root vegetables. My favorite among these, sweet potatoes, yams, and purple sweet potatoes. As Dr. Krieger says, you get extra credit if you eat the purple ones. They're very unique. And then beans and lentils. And then some fruit. Next slide, please. Why do diets fail? I was watching Today's Show late last year, Al Roker, and they talked about a new study that came out that says your metabolism does not slow with age. And a lot of people have said that they gain weight over the years because their metabolism slows down. And it's interesting, people who live in areas of the world who eat plant-based in Africa and Asia, they don't gain weight as the years go on. And the MD who was on the show commented, I was surprised. I thought metabolism did show with age. Well, there was a nutritionist from the Cleveland Clinic who actually nailed it. She says, we try hundreds of diets. They all fail. Why? We do not eat real food. Real food has fiber, and the standard American diet, how much does it have? Essentially none. Plus, another thing, we eat diets that are very high in fat. For example, olive oil. The heart healthy oil, it has 1,000 calories per pound. It's not a heart healthy oil, by the way. It's puffing the weirs. Talk that no reasonable person would believe, and we believe it. And in fact, if you look at Eating You Alive, which is a YouTube channel that has some excellent video interviews of Dr. Esselstyn, part 2, which is only about 9 minutes long, is an interview of him that talks about what causes heart disease. And the answer is that the food we eat that damages the endothelium, the lining of our vascular system. The very first thing he mentions is olive oil. Now you might say, well, in the Mediterranean areas, they supposedly have a lot of olive oil, and they don't seem to have heart disease the way we do. That's correct. Problem is they start eating plant foods from the very beginning when they're little kids. Okay, next slide, please. Here's the thing. Dr. Esselstyn is famous for saying, no nuts. So what's wrong with nuts, And the answer is, he says, I've never seen anybody eat just a few nuts. So look at this little video, fatty meals and arterial and artery function. And I think you'll get a sense. You need to eat plant-based foods, but you cannot be eating lots of fat. Next slide, please. Okay, Nathan Pritikin, I am running, what time is it? Got 3 minutes left, right? Okay. One of the contributions of Pritikin that I was huge, I was in the FBI at the time, and they had started an exercise program because they said too many agents were dying of heart disease. Well, what happened was we followed Jim Fix, who, let's go to the next slide. I think that's the one that, yeah, this one right here. Jim Fix, who wrote this phenomenal book, was incredibly successful. I think he probably more than anybody was contributed to starting the running revolution in the United States. He and Nathan Pritikin were actually kind of colleagues. They knew each other. And Nathan Pritikin, who had studied this stuff with doctors who had been in Africa, the British Medical Service, and saw what you really needed to eat to avoid these chronic diseases, he contacted Fix and said, look, you're playing with fire by eating high-fat meals and running. And Fix said, you know, this can't be. And people in the FBI at the time said, it can't be either. Well, what happened to Fix? He died while he was running. And an autopsy of his showed that his arteries were full of plaque. And just last year, the Wall Street Journal came out with an article that I just thought was amazing. The graveyards of America are filled with runners in so-called healthy areas of America who died of heart disease. Now, I was in New Orleans for a while, and New Orleans, by the way, is an area that kind of takes pride in leading the country in vascular disease and heart disease and deaths. I mean, it's kind of like because the food is so rich. But the other thing that we've seen and what's going on, exercise itself does not lower cholesterol levels. Should you exercise? Absolutely. But if you just eat anything you want, the standard American diet, you're going to be in trouble. Okay, I'm going to end it there and turn it over to Tracy. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. So that was amazing, Gary. Can't hear enough of that. I've been part of this community of plant-based living and sharing for many years, as Sarah said. So, but I always love hearing it and hearing those stories. So thank you. And I just want to also share, as she mentioned, I'm a Food for Life instructor. I've been doing that since 2005, but I'm also associated with an organization called, and that's with the PCRM, but the other organization is Plant Pure Communities, and I have a pod, Plant Diego, with that. And on the call here is Esther, who is working with them to offer a program called Change Makers. So she's going to put the link in there. So if anybody's interested in wanting to jump in, you're new to this, or you've been thinking about it and you want some help and support, just check that out and we'll talk more later. So I just wanted to share with you guys today some of my favorite recipes. I know lawyers are super busy. My son's a lawyer in LA, and so I love sharing ways to say, you know what, it doesn't need to be hard. It can be really easy. This is a quick lunch, quick dinner, when you know, you can just get it started. So this is loaded sweet potatoes. That's what we're making, and it's pretty, you know, it could be gourmet, it could be as simple as you want. But I wanted to show you a quick chili recipe, and then, you know, we'll top it on our sweet potatoes, and I wanted to show you also a quick dessert. So let's just go over the chili real quick. This is a favorite from the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. I love their recipes. This is something we use in our diabetes class. And these are the ingredients. Do you guys see this? So that's it. You pick out your favorite salsa. You pick out some beans. It's, you know, a quick trip to Trader Joe's, cumin. You can put some lime on if you want, and you can put some corn. And that's, you know, this is starch-based, high fiber, super easy. You know, obviously you can make chili from scratch and cut up all your veggies and use some tomatoes. But if you're in a real hurry, you know, salsa tastes amazing, and you can just pick your favorite and you'll love it. So really all the recipe is you take your beans and you use 2 cans. I usually cook mine from scratch. That's why I'm showing you this. I have an Instant Pot, and I just soak them and cook them for about 16 minutes, and, you know, super easy, a lot cheaper. But, you know, I always keep these cans on hand too. And it's just mixing the ingredients together, let it cook. Of course, you can add some other things to it. You know, you could add some pumpkin, add some amazing beta carotene to it, and some sweetness, another dimension of the flavor. But it's up to you. This time I added some fresh tomatoes. So, but I love chili with toppings. So I wanted to show you a quick, first how you'd make your own tortilla chips, because you know those are a huge weakness for most of us, and they're fried in oil. A lot of people don't realize, you know, it's like they're thinking, oh, it's just a chip, but you know what? It's got a lot of fat. It's got, you know, they're oiled, they're definitely fried, and there's no baked chips on the market these days. So you can make your own real quick with your corn tortillas. I like to use a pizza cutter to just cut them into strips. I already did some other ones. Let's see here. And lay them out on a sheet. Don't overlap them. Which ones are not cut? There we go. So I just lay them out. I already did these, so they curled up a little bit. It's dry here, San Diego right now. And it's actually 80 something degrees today. There you go. And you just pop in the oven, 400 degrees for about 10 minutes. These have been sitting out drying, so maybe even a little more. So I always set my timer, and then I check them and see if they're crisp. All right, so I set it for 9, just in case. So guess what? We can have sour cream. You can make your own. I've been making my own sour cream, my own mayo for years, and it's super easy. And you know, yeah, there's nothing like this on the market. So for now, we got to make our own, and it's, you know, it's quick. So I like to use this tofu. This is, it's backwards here, but this is shelf stable. So you don't need to find it in the refrigerator. It's usually on the shelf, maybe in the Asian section at Sprouts, places like that. So you just quickly can open up the top. I just kind of like pinch it like that. And it's kind of a watery tofu. It's not the most protein rich. It's the magic about this tofu is that it's much lower in fat than using dairy products, and it's got a really smooth consistency. So it's also nice, and you know, all these recipes are pretty much, you know, freezer or pantry friendly. So I just put it in my sieve because it does have some water, right? So most tofu is in the refrigerator section and stored in water. But this one is not stored in lots of water, but you want to get rid of the extra water because you're going to be adding liquid ingredients to it. And so you want to get a nice creamy sour cream. Okay, so we've got our Vitamix here. You can just do this in any blender because it's really soft. And I'm going to put in my tofu. And another one of my favorite ingredients is miso. Who uses miso out there? You know, miso soup, right? But this adds a nice flavor. It adds a little bit of salt to your sour cream, and it also adds thickness. And I'm going to just add a little bit of apple cider vinegar because, of course, what is sour cream? It's tart. And, you know, sour cream needs lemon. So that was a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar and a tablespoon That was a tablespoon of miso, by the way, and get the light miso for this. And handy dandy squeezer, about a half of a lemon. Smells good. And that's that. So now you can just blend it up. This thickens up in the fridge too, by the way. Now, it's, you know, this has like very little fat. I do use some cashews in mine if I want it to be a little thicker, but you can see actually it's pretty darn good just to use right away. And you can put it in the fridge too. It'll thicken up. It lasts for quite a few days because you're adding all that acid to it. The lemon and the apple cider vinegar help preserve, and I think the miso does too. So, and I make my mayo pretty much the same way, but I add mustard to it, but no lemon. It's good with lemon too, but yeah. And I use a little more apple cider vinegar. So it's basically the tofu, a tablespoon of each of miso, Dijon mustard, apple cider vinegar. That's my mayo. And I do add a little bit of cashews. I only use, you know, like you said, and Dr. Esselstyn, people snack on nuts. I don't really. So, but some people have told me that they cannot have them in the house. Even like raw cashews, they'll just mac out on and overeat. So, all right. So a couple more things I wanted to show you. So this is a sneaky way to get more of those greens in. I can't do a demo without showing you guys my kale. All right, so here's the kale. I've already cut some up, but for those of you who don't use kale, get your water boiling. And I want to show you an easy way to increase the amount of greens in your life. So I just take off the stem and got my pieces here. I think you can see those. Yep, take off the stem. And I'm going to be putting it in boiling water, you guys, so you don't really need to even wash it. You can if you want, but that takes and removes everything. Does better than washing it. So, and then for this recipe, I'm going to just really chop it up small. So, you know, the size of your vegetables can determine the cooking time. So since I'm cutting it so small, because I'm going to be using it in my potato recipe, I'm just cutting it up small ahead of time. I'm going to putting them in here, and then I've got the boiling water. I add a little bit of salt to it, but you don't have to. And go ahead and dump it in the water. So I've been vegan since 1990, and I was actually pregnant with my son, and I had my daughter in 95. So I was definitely concerned about calcium for me and for the family. So I learned that this is the best way to get calcium right here is your greens, your broccoli, your kale, your collard greens. And so I wanted to learn how to make them palatable. It took me a while actually to find out about this parboiling method. I used to just add it to soups and saute it and did all kinds of stuff with it. But since I discovered this method, what I do is a bunch of kale when I get home from the store, or whenever I have, you know, I'm in the kitchen, I'm doing stuff. I'll usually parboil my kale too while I'm waiting for something else to cook. And look at that. So now just go ahead and put it in your bowl. I don't cook it as long as Gary and Dr. Esselstyn say, because this is, you know, it depends on how you're cooking. If you're steaming it, you're going to steam it probably for longer, but if you're just putting it in water, you can do this. So I do this with Brussels sprouts, broccoli. Those are my favorites to do this with. And there you go. Done. So I'm going to put together don't need this anymore, right? So I'm going to put together my potato. And then if we have a little more time, I'm going to show you a dessert. So I just want to make sure that we have this done. All right, you guys, so here's the chili. So you saw what I put in it, right? You just cook it down. It's so simple. You know, I'm going to try it today with, like I mentioned, I have a food company. I make my own cheeses and sauces and things. So this is my Tracy's Real Food Sunny queso. So I'm going to put some of that or just mix it in. But, you know, I wanted to show you something you can easily make. So that's the sour cream. And then I've got these topping ideas over here. Oh, there's my timer. Let me check my tortilla chips. Go over the toppings real quick, and then I'll get the tortilla chips out. So I have everything kind of covered up over here, but this is another recipe that I'm providing you is these are marinated red onions, and all I do is I cut up red onions and I put them in filled up halfway with about like that to apple cider vinegar. So just look at the level, and then I top it off with water, some scallions. You can use cilantro. Of course, you know, it's super easy. Just keep some pico de gallo on hand. You know, avocados, of course, avocados are high in fat. If you have a weakness and you want to lose weight, you probably get rid of those, okay? And then as he mentioned, you can put some of this on top of your kale or on top. This is really delicious. This is a different brand. This is Sprouts, but this is what he's talking about with the thick balsamic, and that can add so much flavor to your dishes. So let's go back over here. Okay, let me get a potato. So when you get the recipes, you'll see that you've been provided with how to cook this. Most people already know how to do that. So, all right, so you can just, you know, of course, slice it up. This is just $3.75 for about, depending on the size, for about 35 to 40 minutes, 45 minutes. I like to go ahead and just add in some chili right away in here. And a little bit of, oh, now we're gonna wanna put our kale on here. Just washed my hands, so let's put that on. So just put as much as you want. This is a really great sneaky way to get more kale in your diet for sure. And then, you know, then I'll do some sour cream. So you're just adding tangy creaminess. Really, what are you looking for with sour cream? That's what you want. So this actually fits the bill. And a little pico de gallo. And some green onions. And some of my beautiful, these just really make your dishes pop, as these red onions. I just keep them in the fridge. They're ready to go. Onions are super healthy. It's really nice to include raw ones. You know, it's just, I don't like to get so into all the details. It's just of why particular things are healthy, because people probably aren't going to remember. And just do it. Just do a variety. So that's your lunch, right? So really quick, just wanted to show you also a dessert. And blueberries or any kind of berries are one of the healthiest things you can eat. And so this is a way to make such a quick dessert. If you have a food processor, if you have a blender, you can do it in a blender. But it's just dates, chia seeds. Now, chias are a great heart healthy seed, high in omega-3 fatty acids, and then your berries. And these are just frozen berries. And you can see the reason why usually people cook this and to make a compote or dessert or like a pie is because of all that juice when they thaw out. But you can use dates and chia and thicken it up. So what I do, I have these kind of dates. All my foods that I make are sweetened with dates, so I keep dates on hand a lot, and I love using dates. But the ones I get are deglet, they're a little drier. So I actually like to chop them up this way. I found when I add them and the berries together, the berries just fly everywhere because of the tough dates. So we'll see what happens here. Okay. That's another way to chop garlic, by the way. Drop it from the top. You can just chop up a whole bunch of garlic in your food processor. So this is raspberries, blueberries, strawberries, no, raspberries, blueberries, blackberries. So now I'm just going to add some of our chia. Now, chia can also be added to your sour cream. I would probably use a white chia just for the aesthetics. Oh, it's still flying all over the place. All right, so it still makes a mess. Hold on. I tell you, this stuff is so good. It's really so tasty. Just keep it in your fridge. Use it on your toast. I recommend you use Ezekiel bread, which is a sprouted bread, or something, whole grain that has fiber. And so the chia seeds are just going to really soak up all that juice and thicken it up. But you could do it in the blender too, like I said. But I like it like this, where it's a little chunkier. So there you go. That's your dessert. I even have ways of making like creamy toppings with tofu and dates and vanilla. All right, you guys. So do we have a little time? Yeah. So hope you guys enjoyed all that. That's just some quick, my favorite quick recipes. And so we want to make this easy for you. If you've heard all this information and you want to try this out for a test drive, that's what Plant Purist Communities and also, PCRM does too. We teach classes, but Plant Pure Communities is offering something like an immersion for 10 days where you are sent actually some meal starters. And we have the link there. You're sent meal starters and you're really kept engaged for 10 days. So, and you're going to also be getting tests done beforehand. So you can actually see what happens. And if you watch the movie Plant Pure Nation, I think it's on Netflix, look it up, plantpurenation.com, find out where it is. That movie explains and shows people going through this. And in this instance, they were in their community where they're filming, so they were actually given the prepared meals. But in this case, you're going to be getting some meal starters and directions how to use those, making chili, simple meals, and just adopting that whole food plant-based diet.
Great. Thank you, Tracy. I do also want to let people know that Tracy does have an Instagram page and a website, and she's got some gorgeous looking food on there, and shares some other recipes, like in a blog on her website as well. Gary, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I just want to say that a PDF of my PowerPoint is being made available, and I actually am in the process of writing a book on this subject. And what you have is maybe a chapter of it. My contact information is at the end of the PDF. And so if you want to take a few minutes and look through it, you have any other questions, please feel free to give me a call, because I think I hear so many people having so much trouble losing weight. They lose it and then they gain it back. And it's really not that difficult if you know what you're doing. And the beautiful thing about it is that the starches are very high in fiber, and you fill up and they taste good. In fact, Dr. McDougall's book, The Starch Solution, is a great resource. I mean, you don't just have to eat, vegetables all day. So it's just an amazing opportunity. And I don't think people really get the word out and understand how easy it is.
Yeah, I think that, all of us need to get in our communities and share. So yeah. I really appreciate the work you're doing. And I also want to say we have Law 10 is our active discount code on tracysrealfoods.com. We ship nationwide. They make great gifts. We have amazing cookies that are date, lentil, and oat based, and all whole foods. And this is our new product, which is a superfood easy oats. So it's got your chia seeds, your oats. All you got to do is add liquid. Another great, easy way to have breakfast fast. Yeah. Yep.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much. See you all next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.